There's a quiet lie sitting at the center of modern retirement advice. It doesn't scream, it doesn't look dangerous. In fact, it often comes dressed as guidance, responsible, even helpful. It shows up in conversations with well-meaning friends, in articles you read late at night, in the back of your own mind when you're trying to make the biggest financial decision of your life. And that lie? It's the idea that the smartest move with Social Security is to grab it as early as you possibly can. Get it while you can. Don't leave money on the table. You never know what tomorrow holds. It sounds reasonable. It sounds safe. It sounds like common sense. But here's the thing. That single decision, made too quickly, made out of fear, made without really understanding what's behind it, can quietly cost you tens of thousands of dollars, maybe more. Over the course of a long retirement, it can be the difference between just getting by and actually living with peace. So today I want to walk through this with you, not lecture you, not throw numbers at you until your head spins. Just sit down like two friends at a kitchen table and look at what most people get wrong about Social Security and what you can do differently starting right now. Because once you see it, you can't unsee it. And once you understand it, you'll never look at that benefit statement the same way again. That's a promise. Let me ask you something first. Have you ever opened your Social Security statement, looked at those numbers, and felt a little confused? You see one number at 62, a bigger number at 67, an even bigger one at 70. And your gut tells you, just take it early. Why wait? Why gamble? That's the trap. That's where the mistake begins. Not in the math, in the mindset. Most people never get past that first instinct, and it shapes the next 30 years of their financial life without them even realizing it. Think of your benefit like a faucet. Behind that faucet is a pipe, one you've been filling your entire working life. Every paycheck, every tax contribution, it all builds pressure in that pipe. When you turn the faucet on early, you get water, sure, but it comes out as a trickle. Slow, thin, steady. Enough to wet your hands, not enough to fill the bucket. When you wait, the pressure builds, the flow gets stronger, and when you finally turn it on, the water rushes out at a pace that can actually take care of you. The same pipe, the same pressure, just a different moment of release. And if you wait too long to turn it on, well, that's a different conversation. But the point is this: the flow is not the same at every age, not even close. The system was designed that way on purpose. Most people never think about it that way. They think of Social Security as a fixed thing, a number on a page. But it's not fixed. It's a living, breathing decision. And the moment you treat it like one, everything changes. By the way, if you're finding this helpful, the subscribe button lives right down there. And I promise I only make videos worth watching. Now let me tell you about two people. I'll call them Patricia and Ruth. They both worked their whole lives. Patricia was a nurse for nearly 4 decades. Long shifts, weekends, holidays, the kind of work that wears on your back and your spirit. Ruth was an accountant. Quiet office, steady job, predictable paycheck. Patricia lives in a modest home on the edge of town, paid off years ago. A small garden out back, a porch where she drinks her coffee in the morning. Ruth lives in a city apartment, 2 bedrooms, walking distance to a little bakery she's loved for 20 years. Patricia and Ruth are both 62. They both qualify for Social Security right now, and they both have a decision to make. Patricia, scared and tired, decides to take her benefit immediately. She figures, why wait? Life is short. I've earned this. Her monthly check comes in at around $1,400. Ruth, on the other hand, looks at the same statement and pauses. She doesn't rush. She doesn't grab. She waits. She works part-time for a few more years, lives modestly, and finally claims her benefit at 70. Her monthly check, just over $2,500. Same career length, similar earnings, same system, completely different outcomes. And here's the part that gets me. Patricia thought she made the safer choice. She thought waiting was the risk. But over a 25-year retirement, Ruth will collect hundreds of thousands of dollars more, just from that one decision. Now, I want to be careful here. I'm not saying Patricia made the wrong choice for her life. Maybe she had health issues. Maybe she needed the money. Maybe the work was killing her. There are real valid reasons to claim early. I'm not here to judge anyone's situation, but I am here to make sure you know what's actually on the table. Because the difference between claiming at 62 and claiming at 70 isn't small. It isn't a rounding error. It can be the difference between worrying about groceries and never thinking about them again. Let me explain why this is so misunderstood. When you claim Social Security at 62, you're not just getting your full benefit a little early, you're permanently reducing it for the rest of your life by as much as 30%, 30%, gone every month forever. When you wait until your full retirement age, usually 66 or 67 depending on your birth year, you get your full benefit. Not reduced, not penalized. The actual amount the system says you've earned. The number that matches your decades of contribution. And when you wait beyond that, all the way to 70, the system actually rewards you. For every year you delay past full retirement age, your benefit grows by about 8%. Guaranteed, no stock market risk, no investment guru required, just patience. That's it. Let that sink in. 8% per year, guaranteed. Where else can you get that kind of return today? Not in a savings account, not in most bonds, not without taking on a lot of risk somewhere else. It's one of the best deals in modern retirement planning, and most people walk right past it. The real question isn't, when can I take Social Security? It's when should I take Social Security to support the life I actually want? Those two questions sound similar. They are not. One is about permission, the other is about strategy. And strategy is where everything changes. Strategy is what separates Ruth from Patricia. Strategy is what turns the same benefit into a completely different retirement. Now, here's where I have to talk about something most people don't want to hear. Most people underestimate how long they're going to live, not by a little, by a lot. The average 65-year-old today is going to live well into their 80s. Many will reach their 90s. Some will see 100. And here's the kicker. The longer you live, the more that early claiming decision hurts. Because every single month of those extra years, you're getting that reduced check, year after year, decade after decade. The math is unforgiving, but the math also works in your favor when you wait. The longer you live after claiming at 70, the more those bigger checks compound into real life-changing money. It's not pessimism, it's realism. And in this case, realism isn't negative, it's empowering. Here's a question. If you had to choose between more money or more certainty, which would it be? Keep that in your head as we go, because that's the heart of this whole conversation. Certainty, a guaranteed income stream, indexed to inflation that lasts as long as you do. That's what Social Security is. And when you take it early, you're not just reducing the dollar amount. You're reducing the size of the most certain, most reliable income source you'll ever have. Let me give you another way to look at this. I want you to imagine your retirement in two parts. Not one big number, two distinct piles. Pile 1, income that shows up no matter what. Social Security, pension if you have one, maybe an annuity. Pile 2, your savings. The 401k, the IRA, whatever you've stashed away. Pile 1 is your foundation. It doesn't care about the stock market. It doesn't care about recessions. It doesn't care if you live to 95. It just keeps showing up month after month, reliable as the sunrise. Pile 2 is your flexibility. It's the money you draw from when you want to travel, when an emergency hits, when life happens. But Pile 2 can shrink. It can run out. It can disappear in a bad market at the worst possible time. So here's the question. When you claim Social Security early, which pile are you shrinking? Pile 1. The foundation, the most reliable thing you have. You're trading certainty for a little extra time with a smaller check. Most people don't see that trade clearly until it's too late. And here's where it gets even more interesting. Because when Pile 1 is bigger, Pile 2 doesn't have to work as hard. Your savings can grow longer, stretch further, take less risk. Your whole financial life becomes more relaxed, less anxious, more yours. That's the quiet beauty of a maximized Social Security benefit. It doesn't just give you more money, it gives every other dollar in your life more freedom. It changes how you spend, how you save, how you sleep. I want to talk about something else that quietly creeps in and changes the picture. Inflation. We all hear about it. We all complain about it. But most people don't actually think about what it does to a retirement that lasts 25 or 30 years. Inflation is like an ice cube in the sun. It doesn't melt all at once. It creeps, it nudges, it slowly raises the cost of everything around you. Your groceries, your insurance, your health care. The same lifestyle that costs you $50,000 a year today might cost you $80,000 or $90,000 in 20 years. Here's what most people miss. Social Security adjusts for inflation. It's one of the only income sources that does automatically every year. That adjustment is called a COLA, and it quietly grows your check over time. Not by huge amounts each year, but consistently, year after year. And here's the math nobody tells you. The bigger your starting benefit, the bigger every COLA adjustment becomes. Because the COLA is a percentage of your current check. If your check is $1,400, a 3% COLA is $42. If your check is $2,500, that same 3% is $75. Over 25 years, those differences compound into something massive. So claiming early doesn't just give you a smaller check today. It gives you a smaller check that grows more slowly, falls further behind inflation, and erodes faster as the cost of living rises. The damage isn't just up front, it's cumulative. It builds over time. That's what I mean by silent. The mistake doesn't announce itself. It just quietly eats away at your purchasing power, year after year, until one day you look around and realize your money doesn't go as far as it used to. And by then the decision is locked in. You can't undo it. Now, I want to be fair here. There are situations where claiming early actually makes sense. If you have a serious health condition that affects your life expectancy, if you've lost your job late in your career and you genuinely need the money to survive, if continuing to work is physically destroying you, these are real situations, and I respect them. But here's what I want you to do. If you're considering claiming early, ask yourself this question. Am I making this choice because it's the best decision for my life, or am I making it because I'm afraid? Fear is a terrible financial advisor. It pushes you toward decisions that feel safe but actually aren't. The decision to claim Social Security isn't a yes or no. It's not even an age. It's a strategy. And strategy requires looking at your whole picture. Your health, your savings, your spouse, your other income, your expenses, your hopes for the years ahead. That's why so many people get it wrong. They treat it like a single decision when it's actually a thread woven into everything else. Pull on that one thread the wrong way, and the whole fabric of your retirement shifts. Quick question. Do you know your full retirement age for Social Security? Most people don't, and not knowing it is the first crack in the foundation. Because if you don't know what age the system considers full, you can't even begin to evaluate whether claiming earlier or later makes sense for you. Your full retirement age depends on the year you were born. For most people watching this, it's somewhere between 66 and 67. That's when you get your full unreduced benefit. Claim before that, you get less. Claim after, you get more. Simple in theory, complicated in practice. Now let me talk about something that breaks my heart when I see it happen: survivor planning, or more accurately, the lack of it. It's the part of the conversation that almost nobody has until it's far too late to do anything about it. If you're married, your Social Security decision isn't just about you. It's about both of you. Because when one spouse passes away, the surviving spouse generally keeps the higher of the two benefits. Not both, the higher one. Think about what that means. If the higher-earning spouse claimed at 62 and took a permanently reduced benefit, the surviving spouse is going to live the rest of their life on that smaller amount, maybe for 10, 15, even 20 years. That's the legacy of that one early claiming decision. But if the higher-earning spouse waited and claimed a maximum benefit, the surviving spouse inherits that larger check. It becomes a kind of protection, a quiet gift across time, a way of saying, even after I'm gone, you're going to be okay. I've sat with widows who didn't realize this until it was too late. They watched their household income drop dramatically when their spouse passed, and they couldn't understand why. Nobody explained it to them. Nobody told them that the decision their spouse made years earlier would shape their entire future. So if you're married, this is not just your decision. It's a decision for the two of you. And the person who lives longest is the one who lives with the consequence the most. Talk about it. Plan around it. Don't leave it to chance. Here's a question for the married folks. Have you and your spouse ever actually talked about what happens if one of you is gone? Not just the funeral, not just the will, the actual income, the actual monthly check. Most couples never have that conversation, and it's one of the most important ones you'll ever have. Now, I want to address the biggest fear I hear about all of this. People say, but what if Social Security runs out? What if it's not there when I need it? What if I wait until 70 and then the whole system collapses? Let's be real about this. The system has challenges, yes. But the idea that it's just going to vanish is mostly noise. There are tens of millions of people receiving benefits right now. Politicians of every kind know that touching those benefits is political suicide. The system will be adjusted, reformed, modified, but it's not going to disappear. The bigger risk for most people is not that Social Security will collapse. The bigger risk is that you'll claim it too early, lock in a smaller benefit for life, and quietly watch inflation chip away at it for the next 25 years. That's the real danger, and it's the one nobody talks about. Fair warning, once you subscribe, you'll get videos like this delivered right to you. Still interested? Good. Keep watching. Let me tell you something else that surprises people. The decision to delay Social Security doesn't have to mean you keep working until 70. That's the second myth wrapped around the first one. And it stops a lot of people from even considering the strategy. You can stop working at 62 or 64 or 66 and still delay claiming. How? By using your savings to bridge the gap. You spend down some of your 401k or IRA in those early retirement years, and you let your Social Security grow in the background. I know that sounds scary at first. Spend my own money on purpose before tapping the free money from the government? But think about what's happening underneath. Every year you delay, your guaranteed inflation-adjusted income grows by about 8%. You're essentially buying yourself a bigger guaranteed annuity, funded by your own savings. This is one of the smartest, most underused strategies in retirement planning, and almost nobody talks about it, because it requires patience. It requires trust. It requires understanding what the long game actually looks like. But for the right person, it can be a game changer. It can mean a higher floor of income for life, less pressure on your savings later, and a stronger inheritance for your spouse. It's not magic. It's just math, applied with a little patience. You may already have what people with millions are searching for, a guaranteed income source that lasts your entire life and adjusts for inflation. The trick isn't to dismiss it as small. The trick is to maximize it. Now let me talk about taxes for a minute, because this is another piece that quietly affects the decision. Social Security can be taxed. Up to 85% of your benefit can be subject to federal income tax, depending on your other income. That sounds bad, and I won't pretend it isn't a consideration, but here's the key insight. When you delay Social Security and pull from your traditional retirement accounts first, you might actually lower your lifetime tax bill. You're spending down the taxable accounts in lower income years, which can be done at lower tax rates. Then when Social Security kicks in larger later, you may have less in those taxable accounts being taxed alongside it. The point isn't to turn this into a tax seminar. The point is this: the decision about when to claim Social Security ripples into your taxes, your withdrawal strategy, your Medicare premiums, and your overall financial life. It's all connected, and making a snap decision based on fear ignores all of those connections. That's why I keep coming back to the same idea. The real question isn't when can I claim? The real question is, what's the smartest plan for me, my spouse, my life, and the next 30 years? I want to share something that I hope sticks with you. There's a difference between feeling rich and being secure. There are people walking around with 7 figures in savings who are constantly anxious about money. And there are people with modest savings and a maximized Social Security check who sleep soundly every night. The difference isn't the number on the statement. The difference is the income that shows up every month, reliably, no matter what the market is doing, no matter what the headlines say. That's what security actually feels like. It's not about who has more saved, it's about who has more certainty. And Social Security, when claimed strategically, is one of the most certain income sources you'll ever have in your entire life. Here's a question I want you to sit with. If you found out today that you're actually on track, how would that change your week? How would it change your mood, your sleep, your conversations? Because for a lot of people, the anxiety isn't about the actual numbers. It's about not knowing. It's about feeling lost in a sea of advice that often points in the wrong direction. Once you understand how Social Security works, once you see the trade-offs clearly, once you stop letting fear drive the bus, that anxiety starts to fade. It gets replaced with something better: clarity, confidence, control. Let me give you another angle on this. Think of Social Security not as a handout, not as an entitlement. Think of it as the most successful pension plan in American history. You paid into it your entire working life. It's yours. The question is just how to claim it in the way that gives you the most life, not the most paperwork. And here's the part that really gets me. So many people obsess over picking the right stocks, finding the right funds, timing the market just right. They spend hours on it. And meanwhile, the single biggest financial decision of their retirement, the timing of Social Security, gets made in an afternoon with barely any thought. That's backwards. The Social Security decision deserves more time, more thought, more analysis than almost any other financial choice you'll make, because it's permanent, because it affects you and your spouse for life, because it shapes everything else. Let me tell you something else that quietly trips people up. The earnings test. If you claim Social Security before your full retirement age and you keep working, the system can actually reduce your benefit temporarily based on how much you earn. A lot of people don't know this. They claim early, keep their part-time job, and then get surprised when their check is smaller than they expected. It's not a permanent loss. The money gets credited back to you later, but it's another layer of complication that most early claimers never see coming. And it's another reason why claiming early without a real plan can lead to outcomes you didn't expect. Now let me talk for a moment about what I call the comparison trap. We live in a world where everybody's retirement looks shiny on the outside. The neighbor who retired at 60 and goes on cruises. The cousin who claimed early and brags about it at family dinners. The coworker who swears they did the math and early claiming is the only way. Here's the truth. You don't know their full picture. You don't know their savings. You don't know their pension. You don't know their health, their spouse, their expenses, their fears. All you see is the highlight reel. And making a permanent financial decision based on someone else's highlight reel is one of the most expensive mistakes you can make. Stop measuring yourself against everyone else. Start focusing on what truly gives you freedom. Your numbers, your life, your timeline, your peace of mind. That's what matters. Nothing else. I want to talk for a moment about something that doesn't get enough attention: sequence of returns, risk. That's a fancy term for something simple. The order in which the market goes up and down matters a lot in early retirement. If the market drops badly in your first few years of retirement and you're pulling from your savings, you can do permanent damage to your portfolio. But here's the thing. If you have a strong Social Security check filling pile 1, your foundation, you don't have to pull as much from your savings in those vulnerable early years. You can let the portfolio breathe. You can let it recover. You're not forced to sell at the worst possible time. That's another quiet benefit of a maximized Social Security claim. It protects you from the market in a way that nothing else really can. It gives your savings room to weather the storms. It's like having an umbrella you didn't even know you packed. Let me ask you something. Have you ever calculated what your pension is actually worth in real dollars? Most people never do. And the same is true for Social Security. People look at the monthly number and forget that it's a stream of income that could last 25 or 30 years. The total value of that stream, especially the larger one you'd get by waiting, is often worth several $100,000 more than the early version. That's not a small number. That's a different retirement. So what do you do with all of this? How do you take this from concept to action? Let me give you a few things you can do this week. Not someday, this week. First, log into your Social Security account online and pull your most recent statement. Don't guess. Look at the actual numbers. See what you'd get at 62, at your full retirement age, and at 70. Write those numbers down. Look at them side by side. Let the differences sink in. Second, calculate your break-even age. There's a simple calculation. If you take Social Security at 62, you get smaller checks for a longer time. If you wait until 70, you get bigger checks for a shorter time. There's an age where the total adds up to the same amount. After that age, waiting pays more. That break-even is usually somewhere in your late 70s or early 80s. If you expect to live past that, the math favors waiting. Third, if you're married, sit down with your spouse and have the real conversation. Talk about which one of you has the higher benefit. Talk about survivor planning. Talk about what life looks like if one of you outlives the other. This isn't a depressing conversation. It's a loving one. It's saying, I want to make sure you're okay no matter what. Fourth, look at your other income and savings. Can you bridge the gap if you delay? Can you live on your savings, or part-time work, or a pension for a few years while Social Security grows? If yes, the strategy of delaying gets a lot more interesting. If no, then early claiming might genuinely be the right answer for your situation. And fifth, get a second opinion. Not from your brother-in-law who watched a video once. Not from the guy at the coffee shop who claimed early and swears by it. From someone who looks at your full picture, your health, your spouse, your savings, your expenses, someone who can run the numbers and show you the trade-offs in real dollars. Because here's the truth. Generic advice gives you generic results. Your life isn't generic. Your retirement shouldn't be either. The Social Security decision is one of the few places in life where doing the work, really sitting with the numbers, can pay you back many times over. I want to close with this. Your income needs to be greater than your expenses, but your confidence needs to be greater than your fear. Numbers matter, but how you feel about those numbers, that matters just as much. And that feeling, that confidence, it doesn't come from having more. It comes from understanding more. The Social Security decision is one of the few decisions in life where time itself is a tool. You can't go back and save more from your 20s. You can't change what the market did last year. But you can decide right now how you're going to claim the most important guaranteed income source of your life. That decision is still in your hands. Don't make it out of fear. Don't make it out of habit. Don't make it because someone at a barbecue told you what they did. Make it because you understand it. Because you've looked at the numbers. Because you've talked with your spouse. Because you've thought about the next 30 years, not just the next 30 days. The system, in a strange way, only rewards you with almost enough if you claim it the way most people do. But if you understand the levers, if you see the strategy behind the decision, you can shift from almost enough to genuinely enough, from just getting by to actually living, from anxious to calm. That's what this is really about. Not maximizing every dollar, not gaming the system, just making one of the most important decisions of your life with your eyes wide open. Eyes that see the full picture, not just the first easy answer. You've worked decades for this benefit. You've paid into it with every single paycheck. The least you owe yourself is the time and attention it takes to claim it well. Not quickly, not fearfully, well, thoughtfully, strategically, in a way that honors all those years of work. Think about Patricia and Ruth one more time before we wrap up. Same job market, same general earnings, same access to the same system. But Ruth will collect a benefit that's nearly twice as big as Patricia's for the rest of her life, adjusted for inflation every single year. That difference will buy Ruth peace of mind that Patricia simply cannot purchase later, no matter what she does. That's the cost of the mistake. Not just dollars, peace, sleep, freedom from the calculator, the ability to say yes to a grandchild's trip, to a new car when the old one finally dies, to a small kindness without flinching at the price tag. And here's the part that should give you hope. If you're watching this and you haven't claimed yet, you still have time. The decision is still in front of you. The faucet is still closed. The pipe is still building pressure. You get to decide when to turn it on. That's a powerful place to stand. Even if you've already claimed early, there are still things you can do. You can optimize your spouse's claim. You can plan your withdrawals more carefully. You can think about Roth conversions, expense management, the way you draw from your accounts. The Social Security decision is huge, but it's not the only lever in your retirement. There are always more levers if you know where to look. And if this video made you think differently about your retirement, subscribe. The next one goes even deeper, because the more you understand, the less you have to worry. And the less you worry, the more retirement actually starts to feel like the reward it was always meant to be. Take a breath. Look at your statement, have the conversation, run the numbers, and then make the decision that's right for your life, not someone else's. Because in the end, Social Security isn't just a check. It's a foundation. It's a safety net. It's a thank you from a system you've been paying into your whole life. Claim it the way it deserves to be claimed. Claim it with intention. Claim it with strategy. Claim it with the full weight of understanding behind every choice you make. Because the people who do that, the ones who pause and think and plan, they're the ones who walk into retirement not with crossed fingers, but with open hands, ready to receive the life they've worked so hard to build, and let it do for you what it was always meant to do.